Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Make Your Mark podcast. And do I have an amazing guest for you today? So today we have an expert named Larry who's going to be coming to us and talking about something pretty amazing. I remember having a conversation with him previously and I was mind blown away. Now, the first question I want to ask you is, how do self-employed, achievement-orientated professionals make enough income to fund their desired lifestyle without sacrificing happiness? Now, you see, this is what Larry's going to be talking to us about today, because this is his expertise. Now, Larry Kaul dedicated his life in 2020 to solve this exact problem. And after 2 years of hosting events and running groups, Larry created, with his partner Dave Booch, the self-employment mastery system and founded Solopreneeur Inc. For those like him of siloed solutions, ineffective conventional ideas, and quick fix solutions. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So please welcome the amazing Larry Kaul. Thanks, Larry, for coming onto the show.
Thanks, Kay. I appreciate being here with you and your audience.
Awesome. Now, like I was saying earlier, you've got this amazing way of seeing things and perspectives, and you are about relationship building, right? And personalities and making sure we treat people the right way to get the best out of people, right? We're going to be talking a little bit more about that. But before we get into that nitty-gritty, Larry, I would love for you to explain to our audience, how did you even get to this point in your business? Because I guess a lot of people think that it happens, of a click of a finger, when we all know it's a journey that we all go through. So I would love for you to explain a little bit about what that journey looked like to bring you to this point in business right now today.
It's an interesting story to me looking back. At the time, as I was going through these different things, I don't think I had any idea what was happening. But hindsight gives you a thread. I think Steve Jobs has a quote around that. If I look back, I can see how all of the struggles and challenges led up to the knowledge and ability to execute on it and help other people learn and execute on it today. And what I mean by that is that I really got into the hard knocks world of lead generation and sales early in my career. And unless you've done it, it's hard to really understand the challenge of it. So I go back to the world of, there's no marketing, there's no opportunity to really get in front of people except to go do it and get in front of them. And I've always been successful at that. And over time, building a self-employment career off of that gave me a really deep understanding of the challenges that people who are self-employed face. And the idea to me is to really not have to do that. It's to find better ways using and leveraging the opportunities that are right in front of us and also inside us, and bringing them out into this, what I'm calling the solopreneur era, which I think is one of the biggest opportunities that we've ever seen for people to build the kind of business and life that they want.
Right. Okay. I love that you've got this word solopreneur, right? And that's what your business is called, and that's what it's really all about. But just for us to make sure that we're all on the same page, what does solopreneur mean to you?
It's a little different from the way I typically see it defined. So it's defined normally as someone who works on their own. And yes, I believe that that's true, although I have this concept called Solopreneur Plus, which is the next phase if somebody wants to go there. What's important first is understand what it isn't. So to me, a solopreneur is not a potential small business owner with training wheels on who hasn't quite gotten it yet, which I see it described as quite a bit. It's also not a freelancer. There's a huge difference there. And it's not an entrepreneur to me. And I often heard it described as an entrepreneur. And there's some reasons why this is important to understand these distinctions. Because if you don't understand yourself and what you need, it's very unlikely that you're going to get the right pathway forward.
Right.
An entrepreneur is someone who has a vision, an idea around a product, and they want to bring that product to the marketplace. And usually there's an intention to scale, which often involves getting funding, going through a series of rounds, and then eventually, after typically giving up control of the company, not always if you can bootstrap it, but you are building a team, you're scaling for a profit outcome of some sort. A freelancer has skills they're renting out into the marketplace, and they're looking for somebody who buys those skills, and ideally not having to be overwhelmed by their customer demands. Now, a small business owner is someone who's looking to build a system that allows them to spend more time running things and being a CEO or a leader, building a culture, creating the right team and managing that team and leading that team effectively, as opposed to really bringing out something that really matters to them. And that's where the solopreneur starts. It's just a unique kind of person, I think. And it's different from person to person, but we have something inside us and we want to bring that out into the world. And it could be a passion for something we want to do. It could be a vision or a mission. It could be some unique skill set that we bring, but essentially the company, the business comes from inside us. And that requires a very different mindset around how we build it.
Right. Okay. Now, I like your definition of solopreneur because, like you said, a lot of people, when you think of solopreneur, it's them creating, building, scaling business all on their own. And we know this, Larry, that no successful business is successful on our own. We always need a team of people around us to help us get there, right? But you're saying that a solopreneur, in your definition, doesn't exclude having people around us to build and scale on that business, whatever our passion is, which is awesome. I love that. Now, tell us, you mentioned about mindset. It's a different form of mindset, right? What is the difference here, and what kind, or what could we do to elevate, progress our mindset to building a successful business?
Because the business comes from inside us, we have to go inside us to figure out what's there. And I call these blueprints. So there's a personal blueprint, there's a work blueprint, and there's a market blueprint. The idea of the personal blueprint is, what do I really want? Why am I doing what I'm doing? What are the principles that I'm living by? What are the values that I care about? And what is the unique nature of all of that I can bring out into the marketplace? Because what that does when you do it effectively is it really creates a market of one. Because when you combine all these things together, you're the only one who could do it. We all have these unique fingerprints already inside us. Now, the how to get to that, I can talk about a little later. The second is the work blueprint. It's very, very important that we understand what we want to be doing all day long. And it's not something like, programming or teaching or coaching necessarily. It's a energy that really lights us up and motivates us. So it's providing insight to people, it's leading, it could be mentoring, it could be supporting, it could be creating, it could be discovering, but we really have to understand that aspect of ourselves so we can bring it out. So I call that work blueprint. And then also what drains our energy. And then the third thing is market blueprint. And this is about understanding the motivational desire we naturally impact the most and the pain of that desire when someone has it and the outcome they want. And that's step one in a few steps to identify your ideal target market. So for example, there's people who desire to feel belonging. There's people who desire to feel safety and security. There's people who desire to take risk and achieve. There's people who desire fulfillment and independence. And when you really learn about yourself and you go deep inside, it becomes obvious really quickly. There's one lane or another that we naturally gravitate towards. And we want to be aligned with that part of ourselves to be really unique and successful and happy with what we're doing.
And I absolutely love that. And you're taking me back to the conversation that we had,
Yeah.
and how you've created, or you've got this kind of categories on different personalities that we are as individuals, as business owners. And also it helps us to see who our audience is, how to get the messaging and our marketing across effectively to who our targeted audience are. And I'd love for you to go into a little bit more detail about these personality types and why that's important as a business owner.
So before I get into it, I have to credit a book called The Hero and the Outlaw. And the people who wrote it come from Young and Rubicon, which is a big marketing company. Carol Pearson and Margaret Mark came up with this, and they combined some archetypal work kind of anchored in Carl Jung's philosophy and work with motivational psychology. So the Erickson, Abraham Maslow kind of stuff. So I need to set it up and give them credit. I don't want to take credit for this. What I did is I adapted it to solopreneurs. They did this for big brands, because Young and Rubicon is obviously working with Fortune, 500 companies. So there's really 4 lanes, like I said, and within those 4 lanes, there's 3 energies within each one of those lanes. And you have to figure out which one you are. And when you figure out which one you are, you know the impact that you make. And there's this automatic attraction that comes when you do it, where people can tell you're for them as opposed to somebody else. So you could be selling exactly the same thing, delivering it in exactly the same way, in exactly the same demographic or psychographic, but it's totally different when you understand what that energy is. People are going in motivational desire directions, and your job is to move them in the direction they're already going in. You can't create the direction for them. They're already going there. So for example, people are in a phase in their life where they want to belong. They want to feel a part of something. Or they're moving in the opposite direction. They want to be independent. They want to find themselves. You can't have those 2 things working together. You're going in one direction or another.
Right.
Then there's people who are going on the other pole. So there's people who are really looking for safety and security, and they want someone to help them feel safe and secure. That's a certain natural energy. Or they're going the other direction and they want to take risk and they want to master themselves. Now, anybody could be going along any of these poles at any given time. It's developmental. For business people, for solopreneurs, a lot of it has to do with what life stage you're in and what stage you're in with the development of your business and your practice.
So does that mean that as we evolve, that our personalities will change as well? And so I know you've got these different categories of personalities, and I would love to kind of, explain to our audience today what those categories are and what it means to be those particular archetypes. But does that mean these archetypes, like you could be one now, and then in 2 years down the line, where you've evolved, right, you could go into a different archetype? Is that something that's possible?
Well, the way I see it is the archetype comes from the provider, the giver in this particular case. And I don't know if it can really change that much. Now, it's a little different from personality type. So I'm not talking about the DISC or the Enneagram kind of stuff, Myers-Briggs. And I think there, it's also kind of fixed as well. I think it can shift, but I don't think it ever changes dramatically over your life. I don't know. But I do know people can tap into it and use it, and it feels right. They know when I work through this with people, it doesn't take very long and they just know the answer. to which category that they're in. Now, the audience, I believe, changes consistently. So there's moments where people are maybe feeling a lot of financial insecurity and they want somebody to help them feel secure. They want an archetype that'll help them feel safe. One archetype is called the ruler. So this is someone who says, I got it. I know exactly what you need to do. Follow my steps. I got you. And you're going to be financially secure. So that kind of situation where someone's there may shift. So they may be at a point where they're like, okay, I got that taken care of. Now I want to master what I'm doing. Then you need a different energy or be attracted to a different energy in the marketplace. So that could be a magician energy where the magician is saying, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to help you transform. So magicians are about alchemic transformation, and they're going to bring that energy to that person who's at that point ready for it, because you can't transform if you're not willing to take risks. And you have to already want to do that to be able to do that. So if you have someone who's got that ruler energy, someone's looking to transform, they're not attracted to that because they're thinking, I really don't want to follow your 5-step process. I want my own 5-step process. And I want somebody to stand by my side and help me work through my own self so I can achieve what I want to achieve.
Awesome. And so coming back to like, as business owners, we got to understand ourselves before we put ourselves out there and decide who our target market is, right? And so a lot of the people, when we talk about things like who is your ideal clients, what is your avatar, right? That is something that, you know, the word that keeps floating around out there, who is your avatar? And so I've worked with a lot of people where they explain to me who their avatar is, and a lot of the time it's them. They're trying to attract people exactly like them, right? And so, I mean, is that the right way to go about it? Should we be attracting people like ourselves, or are we attracting somebody else? What is the right way here?
You know, it's such an interesting question. I think it depends on the person, but what I've noticed is the solopreneur mentality is usually someone who had a problem they solved or they really want to solve. So they created something for themselves. So they're selling it to their past self. So you're speaking, when you speak and tell your stories, in my own experience, I'm talking to my past self. I'm talking to my present self. Those are my partners. And I'm talking to my future self. Those are leaders that I aspire to become like.
Right.
And as I'm figuring that out, I'm marketing into a market.
Yes.
So I'm not chasing a prospect. My goal is to understand the prospect, but also who surrounds them. Who are the leaders in that market, and who are my marketing partners? Who are the people I should be aligning myself with? So when I'm talking to people, I'm not thinking, are you going to buy from me? I'm not qualifying them and doing all that sales stuff. I'm just thinking, are you in my marketplace, and do you share my principles, live by my same principles that I care about? Do you live by my values? So when I find my customer, I help people find their customer. I'm looking at finding their marketplace. So you start with, what is that energy? So what's their motivational desire that I naturally impact? So that's step one. Step two is to start to understand the principles and the values. If people don't so-called get it and are completely separated from the stuff that I live by and care about, it's just not going to work. They shouldn't be in my category. And then the third is interest. So interest is really important. I'm very interested in personal development. Right. If people are not interested in personal development and don't want to go through any kind of personal transformation, they just want skills, I won't work with them, you know, and they probably won't want to work with me either, because they're not going to go where I want to take them. Yeah. Now, I have to support the skills as well. So I teach people how to make money. I teach them how to get new business and build all those structures and expertise. But it's done with that interest alignment where that person also is ready. They're at a moment where they're like, I want to be a better self. I want to change myself. And I'm willing to do that in return for, you know, becoming the person I need to be to get what I want.
Right, right. And I totally agree with that. And I just want to take a couple of steps back on what you mentioned a few minutes ago when we were talking about the avatar. And so you mentioned a lot of the time we create something on experiences and things that we've gone through. And what we're trying to do is create a program, a course, a service, whatever it may be, to prevent anyone else going through the same things we went through, right? It's
Yes.
preventative.
Yes.
That's what we're here doing as coaches. So it makes it easy on everybody else. We're serving the world. We're trying to make it a better place for everybody when they're going through certain situations. So I just wanted to just to kind of let the audience know this happens all the time. And this is what the journey looks like for every single one of us. And that's why it's really important to find out where we're coming from, what our personalities, our beliefs, our values are, because we're trying to attract the people that we can help. Right? And that's what our business is all about. So I absolutely love that. Now, Larry, is there anything that when I guess people are first building their business that they should take into account that a lot of people, I guess, miss?
It's such a good question. And I will give some kind of tips and ideas that I think may be helpful for people. The challenge is, how do we do this? Or how do we go inside? How do we find those unique elements? So we're able to bring them out. You can't bring them out if you don't know what they are.
Right.
And I've got some steps that I've gone through myself pretty deeply and that I've taken other people through as well. So one of them is what I call reality-based thinking. And people are like, well, what does that have to do with making money? And I'm like, well, it has everything to do with making money. Because if you can't see the reality of your situation, you can't see the reality of what you're up against, you can't see the reality of your market, you never get clarity, you never get focus, you don't have a good action plan, you don't know how to take action, you don't know how to evaluate and adjust very quickly so you're able to succeed. So reality-based thinking is accessed most easily, I find, through being aware of your thoughts. It's all about thoughts. When we understand our thoughts and we're able to take the ones that are sabotaging us because they're really not helpful and expose those to the light and start to dissolve and eliminate them, we start to see the reality of what's going on, what we're good at, what we're not good at, where we're screwing up, where we're really strong, and immediately remove those thoughts and make the right changes. And when you're able to do that, you see this huge acceleration into the marketplace. So reality-based thinking is very important. The other thing is the techniques to execute on that as you're going in that direction are important. And again, people are surprised when I'm talking about this because they're like, what does this have to do with making money in sales? I'm like, it has everything to do with making money in sales. So one is delayed gratification. The winners are the people who act and plan for exponential growth. They understand that it's not about just getting a win right now. It's about building something that explodes later on as you're deeper and deeper into what really matters and what you're good at. And you've gotten into that part of yourself that can really accelerate your progress. Things like suspending judgment. If I'm judging myself and others in my situation all the time, I'm not really seeing what's happening. There's a part of our mind, which I would call like a hidden self. Some people call it ego. I like hidden self because it's just easier, I think, to understand, at least for me. And that's trying to sabotage us all the time. And what it's doing is it's creating constant judgments. And when we're in judgments, we don't see the opportunities that are right in front of us. And then there's other pieces like being open-minded, being able to live in an uncomfortable space where we don't have to have an answer right away, all those kinds of things. And then once you're doing that, I've got some steps that people can go further to build the actual skills. So they start to be successful coming from the right place in the marketplace.
I love that. And so the biggest thing that's really shouting out to what you're telling me is habits. Being aware of what your habits are right? Which
Yeah.
ones are serving you, which ones are not, and change the habits that are not serving you, right? That's how you're going to see progress within yourself, all around you in life and in business.
Yeah, I think fundamentally that is it. And this is just biology. This is how our minds work. We create neurological patterns in our brain, and this can be easily seen now in the laboratory. So there's a lot of scientists who are clearly identifying how these what I would call emotionally reinforcing thought, feeling feedback loops are happening. So when you start to see what's going on, reality-based thinking, you become incredibly hyper aware of your thought feeling patterns, and you kind of look at that and you're asking yourself, like, what is that doing to me? And usually what it's doing is it's keeping me from being successful. Well, how do I stop that? I have to become aware of it. To really change that habit, I have to really desire something that's incredibly important to me and know why. I have to clearly identify a number. I want to make this much money by this date. And what will happen when I get that number? What will my life be like? And I have to have a very specific understanding of that I can clearly visualize and understand as I'm moving towards it. And that pulls us in that direction.
Right.
As we're pulled in that direction, we're able to overcome obstacles that we weren't able to overcome before. And when we're able to do that, we're able to start changing habits.
Fantastic. I love that. Now, Larry, oh my goodness, like I feel like I can speak to you all day long on this, especially as people need to learn this. People need this, right, to progress. And it affects every part of our life. But I know at this point people are thinking, oh my goodness, I need to contact Larry. I need Larry in my life. So where can they go to connect with you?
So I run a weekly workshop for the marketplace. There's no cost to this. I've been doing this for over 2 years. It's on Thursday every week at 8 o'clock Pacific in the US, 10 o'clock Central Chicago time, which is where I am, 11 o'clock Eastern, and I think that's 4 o'clock GMT. So anybody's welcome to come to this. The easiest way, I think, is just to go email me at Larry, Larry, at Go Solo, Solo Inc, Inc.com, and I'll send you a registration link. I'm very active on LinkedIn. That's my kind of preferred social media channel. So you can find my LinkedIn profile. There's not a lot of Larry calls, Kaul, and connect there, and I can send you the information as well.
Fantastic. And guys, don't forget all the resources, links that Larry mentioned will be in the show notes. So make sure you scroll down, go to his workshops, learn more about what Larry does, implement them into your own business and life, and you will see a huge difference. Now, before we go, Larry, I've got one more question for you. As a business owner, right, and you speak to a lot of people, you understand marketing, reaching your audience. Why is it that you've decided that guest podcasting is one of the marketing strategies that you've implemented in your business to reach your clients?
I think that people often don't understand how podcasting really works. Podcast is about the podcast. It's about the host, and it's about the network of people who've been on the podcast as much as it is about the audience for the podcast. Those things are all very important. I think of my marketplace. I don't think of, oh, this person's going to buy from me or not. I'm looking to connect as an insider into my marketplace. And the more people I meet who are leaders in that marketplace, the more successful I'm going to be. There's just secret information that goes on behind closed doors with people who are leading in the marketplace. And if you're not already there, you're not going to be as successful as us that are like Kay and like myself, who are really connecting into that world of leadership. And guesting on podcasts gives you an opportunity to meet really amazing people. That's a big part of it, as well as present yourself to an audience.
Definitely. I guess it helps build your network around you. You get to kind of learn what other people are doing. And it does help you bring in clients, sales, partnerships, collaborations, because you're getting yourself out there. And not only that, but you are now an international speaker when you're speaking on podcasts.
Right.
So,
and it's just stuff so free, it's free and it's easy to do. And the problem is often the back end. And I think that's why what Kay's doing is so important, because people don't often do these things. It's important to have your own signature event. So I have my workshop, and we're going to be standing up a YouTube channel fairly soon, which incorporates elements of podcasting. But if you don't have an authority stage of some sort, I think you're missing a lot of the opportunity in the solopreneur era, which is really all about being an authentic self in the marketplace, in the right place for the right people, saying things that really matter, and being willing to be uncomfortable and expose yourself in public like an entertainer or an artist or a creative person would. I think we're more like singers and actors and creative personalities than business owners or entrepreneurs or freelancers more than anything else. And that's the opportunity right now. And podcasting is a big part of that.
Definitely. Thank you so much for that, Larry. I really appreciate you being here. You've given so many golden nuggets in such a short amount of time. You are awesome. Totally rocking it. And like I said, guys, if you haven't reached out to Larry, I urge you to do so as soon as possible and go to his workshops. Once again, thank you, Larry, for coming onto the show. Thanks,
Kay. It was great.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.